As the London 2012 Olympics draw near, Go Yachting sits down with Neil Pryde to talk about the recent sailing decisions made for the 2016 Olympics and the ramifications. Go Yachting pays tribute to the passing of former Olympian Rolly Tasker, and our last stop is Thailand, reporting on the 2012 Samui Regatta. Yachting is a sport steeped in history with well-established classes and events around the world. However, the sport, after many years of development, still has problems, especially in youth development.
The yachting has a problem in that they have great events and great classes like the Optimus class, which bring kids to 15, 16 years old, but then they lose 90% of these kids somewhere else. They just disappear from yachting. And I think one of the factors is that the step up from the Optimus class isn't very exciting. You go to a laser dinghy or other fairly old-fashioned boats, and if you want to go into really high-performance, exciting boats that kids might want to do, like the 29 or 49, they're very, very expensive. Now, windsurfing offers a very inexpensive opportunity for sailors who have come out of the Optimists or other training to go into an exciting area of sailing, which is still one person in one boat.
Sailing as an Olympic sport is undergoing change. Recent decisions within ISAF have caused both concern and debate. As sports around the world compete for limited medal slots, what does the future hold for sailing in the Olympics?
Well, I think the first thing, sailing has got to have to come to grips with the fact that they're going to struggle. I think they're going to struggle to stay in the Olympics.
Neil Pryde has been supporting and investing in the Olympics for many years, providing windsurfing equipment for Barcelona 1992, Beijing 2008, and also for the current edition, London 2012, as well as supporting youth windsurfing through the ISAF Youth Sailing World Championships.
I would say it's a pretty big commitment, actually. When for Beijing, we had to supply all the equipment free of charge. It was a contract that we signed with ISAF, and as part of the Olympic deal, as it were, we also had to supply free equipment every year for the Youth World Championships, which ISAF organised. Of course, we still own the equipment and can sell it off after the event, the same as we can in the Olympics, but of course selling second-hand equipment is a different story, and basically we're lucky if we can recover our costs. So in reality, the Olympic commitment is a little bit of a labour of love more than a real business, to be very frank.
Producing windsurfing equipment under the Neil Pryde brand and kitesurfing equipment under the Cabrina brand, Neil Pryde is in a unique position to comment on the recent Windsurfers out and Kiteboards in Olympic decision by ISAF.
Obviously, I have a vested interest in windsurfing, but on the other hand, from a corporate point of view, we're arguably the leading kite brand in the world with Cabrina. So actually, I have one foot in each camp. So from a pure business point of view, it's not such a traumatic happening.
The decision has been made. For Rio 2016, windsurfers will be replaced by kiteboards, which will be making their Olympic debut. The decision has proven to be contentious. How did it all come about?
I was at this meeting in Athens in 2010, and at that stage the decision of the committee meeting that I sat in was that yes, they should be in the Olympics, as also should windsurfing, and they should go to IOC and request an additional medal, because they're really two different sports. You can't say it's one or the other. They're actually two different sports.
With a strong youth development program, windsurfing has been responsible for bringing many developing countries into the sport of sailing. The decision to replace them in the Olympics has surprised many.
Windsurfing was sacrificed to maintain the traditional yachting classes in the Olympics, and that's not a very good way to make such important decisions, particularly when windsurfing has done so much to bring developing countries into international yachting. I'm not against kitesurfing at all. It's actually my most important business, but I don't think it yet belongs in the Olympics. It was premature.
The decision has been made and most agree it's very unlikely to be overturned. Kiteboards are in and windsurfers are out for Rio 2016. So what does this now mean for the sport of sailing as a whole?
Tragic decision for many of the developing countries that have started to come into international sailing, Olympic sailing, through the windsurfing class. I mean, if you look back in recent history, China, which is the largest Olympic country now in terms of the medals they win, the largest country participating, it came into sailing through windsurfing, and they won medals in 3 Olympics in windsurfing. And this is, in my opinion anyhow, a real slap in the face to China and all the other Asian and developing countries that have really got into sailing through windsurfing, because it's the simplest way of bringing countries into the sailing sport. It's relatively inexpensive. The Olympic equipment is one design, so it's not an arms race of buying the latest and fastest gear. It's a level playing field, and it's done a great job of introducing young people and experienced sailors into high-level international competition, with the Olympics at the pinnacle of it. So to throw all that away seemed to be an incredibly unexplainable decision.
Since the decision was made, a number of stories have surfaced of representatives voting against National Association orders, and some even saying they were confused by the voting system. With so much on the line, how can such an important decision be made this way?
There were a number of nations voting in the council meeting at the meeting in Italy that actually voted against the instructions of Spain already went public with this. Venezuela, we know that the representative of China did not even appear at the meeting. Now, you can ask yourself, why didn't he appear? And when China has almost the biggest vested interest of anyone in windsurfing. So I have to believe, without knowing the facts, that this was a politically engineered decision.
So what happens next? What is the future for sailing as an Olympic sport?
I have a concern that yachting will disappear from the Olympics unless there's some real major changes made in the way the ISAF and the other organisations that run sailing think about the sport. You know, we've been a little lucky in sailing so far that the president of IOC traditionally has either been American or European, but the way the world's political balance is changing, it could well be in the future that the next president of the IOC might be from Africa or from a country like India or China. Now, they're going to have a very different view of what they think about sailing and what sports should be in the Olympic Games. And I think that's a real consideration that the ISAF people need to start thinking about. It's now a little bit of a private elite club of wealthy European countries. And I don't think that's going to be looked at favourably by the world in the future.
Roland Tasker, more commonly known as Rolly Tasker, passed away recently at his home in Australia. A businessman, sportsman, a sailor who won Australia's first Olympic sailing medal at the 1956 Games in Melbourne, he dominated ocean racing in Western Australia from 1969 to 1985 with his 5 sister yachts, all called Siska. In his racing career, he was Australian dinghy champion 10 times and won over 2,000 races, and in 2006 became a member of the Order of Australia for his services to sailing. Over his long career, Rolly built and operated sail lofts in Australia, Hong Kong, France, USA and Phuket in Thailand, from where Rolly Tasker sails export to more than 60 countries. Rolly is a sailing legend and an inspiration to many. The quintessential Thai tropical island of Samui is home to one of Asia's favourite boutique regattas, the Samui Regatta. 11 years young, the 2012 regatta brought together a top-class fleet of boats from Asia and beyond, including 10 closely matched 40-footers in the IRC 1 class, and the largest of the fleet, the 90-foot maxi Genuine Risk, competing in the IRC 0 class. "32 boats in 5 classes and over 500 sailors competed over 5 days, experiencing everything from idyllic tropical sailing conditions to wet and wild rides with winds gusting up to 40 knots. Close battles across the fleet saw nail-biting finishes, with most classes being decided on the final race of the series. Australian entry Hooligan won IRC 0 and EFG Bank Mandrake pipped Foxy Lady 6 to the IRC 1 crown. Moonblue 2 won IRC Premier on countback, while in IRC 2 bareboat, Reef Knot won by a point, and Fantasia claimed the victory in the multi-hull class.